Democratic presidential candidates squared off this week ahead of Tuesday's Pennsylvania primary in a debate that put Barack Obama largely on the defensive. Recent missteps have left the frontrunner reeling and have reinforced what has been Hillary Clinton's central argument to undecided superdelegates, that Obama will be an inviting target for John McCain come November. But despite what she's been saying behind the scenes, Clinton said in Wednesday's debate that her opponent can, in fact, win in the fall.
Do you think Senator Obama can do that? Can he win?
Yes, yes, yes. Now, I think that I can do a better job.
Joining the panel this week, Wall Street Journal columnist and deputy editor Dan Henninger, editorial board member Jason Riley, and columnist John Funn. Now, John, there's a switch. People were saying that a lot of Democrats were saying that Hillary Clinton would be the weaker candidate in the fall, and now she's saying Barack Obama would be the weaker candidate. Is there some truth to her argument, or is this just her last desperate argument to try to prevail?
Well, the polls show both candidates run about even against John McCain, but they have different coalitions. Hillary Clinton would do much better with the traditional Democratic coalition. The red and blue state divide would largely hold. Barack Obama would have a different coalition. He'd do much better with better educated upper income voters, but he would have a lot of trouble with the working class Democrats that are 40% of the primary vote in the Democratic primary in Pennsylvania next week.
Yes, yes, and he's going to, and she's going to use this Pennsylvania primary to try and demonstrate that, I think. We saw this similarly play out in Ohio, a state with a similar demographic makeup.
And Obama didn't get those crucial working class white folks.
What we saw is Hillary got out to a big lead. Obama closed it somewhat, but couldn't close the deal in Ohio. In Pennsylvania, same thing. Hillary got out to a big lead. Obama's closed it, but whether he'll be able to, what this might reveal is whether he has a ceiling among working class whites. And Hillary will certainly use that to go to the superdelegates and say, I'm more electable.
If Obama does not get 45% of the working class vote in a general election, he probably can't win the White House. And that's the concern of Democratic superdelegates. They like everything about Obama, but the recent missteps make them wonder, can he really connect with the average American voter?
Well, Dan, let's talk about those recent missteps, because we've been learning about a different Obama. The original Obama of Iowa was this kind of transcendent, post-partisan, eloquent figure who wanted to transcend normal politics, a reformer and so on. And now we're finding out, in many ways, he is more conventional with some of the more conventional flaws of a Democratic politician, particularly his liberal voting record. You have the Jeremiah Wright episode, a church he attended for 20 years. So how much of a problem is this for Obama?
Well, I think it's reflecting a very significant weakness in his candidacy. These issues are more than nothing. The Reverend Wright problem, now the Bill Ayers, the radical, and even his missteps in answering the questions on capital gains. And when he gets trapped into an issue like this, where people have legitimate concerns, he starts to talk. It's almost logorrhea. He keeps talking and talking, and then he inevitably says, my candidacy is about moving beyond problems like this and uniting the country. And this is basically articulate nonsense. You can't dodge and weave your way past every serious issue that is put in front of you. And that's what he's been doing so far. I think that's a weakness. He's not as strong as he seems to be.
Well, I was going to say, Hillary also shows that she has to be careful about how she attacks him, because she opens herself up to similar attacks. And the Bill Ayers comment, the Weather Underground radical from the 60s, Obama came right back at her and said, your husband pardoned members of the Weather Underground, so which is worse? And you have this spectacle of these two Democratic candidates arguing over who's further left wing.
I think they're seriously damaging each other, and Hillary's problem, going back 2 years, was that she's a polarizing figure. That's what upset Democrats, and she's giving us a case study in polarization.
John, Democrats are furious with Hillary Clinton and for bringing up some of these cultural arguments and stressing them, because they say you're playing from the Republican playbook. And they do have a point. These are arguments that often Republicans make that resonate in a general election, and that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton used to fight furiously against. Is this going to help, this line of argument going to help Hillary in the primary to overtake Obama?
I think it'll make her do better, but the real argument that Hillary is making is these arguments are inevitable. They're going to come in the fall, but raised by the Republicans. You better deal with them now and see if Obama can stand up to them, because if he can't, then you're going to see what happened to Michael Dukakis in 1988 and what happened to John Kerry in 2004. They were whipsawed by the cultural contradictions of their campaign. They were viewed as out of touch by the American people, and they lost.
Dan, you made an interesting point this week in your column, which is that you think that this is the week, this is the last few days have been the week when the Democrats surrendered in the so-called culture wars. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that is that they have been campaigning on issues like the acceptability of people having guns. They're in these small towns in Pennsylvania. They spoke at a forum the other night at great length about the legitimacy of people having religious faith and participating in politics. One way or another, these are two presidential candidates moving the cultural issues to the right. And what they're reflecting there is that they have to have those sorts of people in politics for the Democratic Party to win, no matter how often the left wing of the Democratic Party wants to push them to the side. And I think this is one of the most significant things that's happened in the campaign.
Overall, is Obama being portrayed, Jason, we don't have a lot of time, but is being unveiled here as a pretty much conventional liberal politician, a la Dukakis and Kerry, and would therefore be vulnerable to that of attack in November?
Yes, yeah. Some of us have said all along that there was no substance here. That he was a very articulate guy, a slick speaker, an eloquent spokesman, but not much depth there. And it's being
there's a lot of depth. Yeah. He wants to raise taxes for everyone earning over $97,000 a year, and at the same time wants to claim that he's not going to raise taxes on anyone earning under $250,000 a year. That's not substance. That's complete confusion.
All right, John. Thanks. Still.